Hi, I'm Rachel McLeod. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and emotional wellness coach, and I help people do the brain work involved with resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And so today we're going to be doing an Ask Me Anything about resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And I already have a question in, and so I'm going to answer that. And in the meanwhile, you are welcome to drop a question in the box. I'll answer those as we go along. And um, yeah, and if we just answer this one question that I got in the comment section on my post, I that will be all we do today. But if you're getting this video afterwards and you want to leave a question, I answer those as well, or I will roll those over to the next one that I do. Okay, so the first question was, I'm going to say it right. So I didn't think I was going to say it right, but I mean, I didn't think I was going to do, I was going to read it. So that's what I'm going to go do here. I don't see, look around right here. There it is. Navigating, navigating. It was a very simple question, but I want to get it right. She said, Sissy asked, have you had it and cured yourself? Okay, so let's talk. Okay, I have had massive anxiety disorder. I have had my life shut down repeatedly by this. Um, gosh, I think I must have gone through high school pretty numb and pretty terrified. Um, and but I look pretty normal on the outside for the most part, minus some facial tics and some other issues, I'm sure. Um, but at that time, I really was not just suffering from anxiety, but from complex trauma and generational trauma. And so, but I went totally under the radar for the most part. In college, gosh, I had a really great time. Mind you, I was an athlete. I ended up becoming a Division I athlete. I was playing volleyball in high school. I was playing three sports. That was my safe place, and I was living it up. I was also really good at school. I was just escaping everywhere under the radar. And so, um, but I had my first like breakdown in college, and I just couldn't stop crying. And gosh, that was awful. And I just, I remember one of my friends asked me, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I had no words to explain this. Again, I had another crisis, a mental health crisis, after having my third child. No, I had one more after that, one more massive one. Again, I just spent weeks crying. This was after I'd graduated from high school, from college, and I was living on my own. And I was just kind of unpacking some of my experiences because with anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, that the same brain process that heals and resolves symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress are also the same is also the same brain process that helps you learn new things and mature and grow. It also is what builds in empathy, and it's what creates all the shifts that we're after. And so if you're having symptoms of anxiety, depression, traumatic stress, it's likely that you're also having challenges with maturity, um, with learning new things, being open, those kinds of things. And so, but crying is a great intervention. I didn't know that at the time. So I spent at that second crisis, I just spent weeks crying. I would go to the beach. I don't know how I got there. Like, I think my subconscious mind was like, homegirl, we can't do anything with you. Take us to the beach and we will do this work without you. So you just go there and cry. I didn't even know why I was going to the beach. I couldn't even figure out why I would end up here every day after class. And I didn't, and I would like ugly cry, like snot and everything. And I would be there trying to deal with this stuff and think, why don't I have a Kleenex right now? But I would never bring a Kleenex because I never intended to be there. And so I cried my way through that. But I didn't because I moved enough emotion. Like in looking back, I moved enough emotion that my brain was able to continue on the problem solving and moving emotion process. but I didn't know how to do specific and targeted work I didn't even know what was going on. So I really didn't know how to do the specific and targeted work for resolving a disorder. Um, but I just made it through and I'm up and functioning again. So here I go. Come at me life. So I'm going and taking life on head on. I get married. I have 3 children under 3, and I have my next mental health crisis. Um, and during that time, I thought I was having a financial crisis. I thought this, I thought that. It turns out I had married a human with complex childhood trauma, and I had complex childhood trauma, and whew, we couldn't rub some pennies together to solve any of our problems. They were basic. Um, it was just such a bad thing. I was diagnosed during that time with obsessive compulsive disorder. That was the tip of the issues I was dealing with. Um, and gosh, I we just tanked out. I could not, we couldn't afford to where we were living anymore. We just could not solve any problems. So I asked my mom if we could live with her, and mom was like, sure, come bring the babies. And so we hunkered down there. Right before we left, we found this was supposed to be a short question. I don't do things in a short way. So here we go. Um, right before we left there, I was introduced to emotional freedom techniques. And um, I started using that tapping. And she said, try this, it will change your life. If you've heard any of my podcasts or anything like that, you know the story. And so I tried it on the insomnia that I was having because I was having racing thoughts and I was just mentally overheating every night. And so I couldn't sleep. And with 3 children under 3, that is not a good combination. So I tried this tapping. I fell right to sleep. The second time I used it, I did the first time, I yawned, second time, lights out. I woke up the next morning, I was like, what can I try this on? And I started using it on everything. I couldn't figure out heads or tails, what was up, what was down. And so I was just like, I'm just going to use this thing all the time. I got problems everywhere. I couldn't untangle one problem from the next. And so I use this intervention like somebody who has obsessive compulsive disorder. I just handed it to my disorder and was like, clean this mess up. And I was like, I would love to. And so I did. And I started healing. Um, I started coming out. We were deeply codependent, and I started coming out of that. I started learning to have my own feelings, and I started learning how to have boundaries. And I just think and meditate, what in the heck are these boundaries everyone's talking about? And so um, and, my, and I would be tapping, my brain would be like, oh, let me tell you about this boundary you need over here. And I started finally figuring these things out little by little. Um, and I started to heal and I started to function. And when I say function, I mean problem solving problems and um, gosh, and just moving on. But we had so many problems, just basic function of life things, make money, pay bills, sleep. I mean, it's just, but I was healing, but then anyway, we couldn't function. So my mom scooped us up at my request, and I just was determined to heal. So I just kept tapping and tapping and tapping and tapping. And what happens when you're tapping in your environment, you can really um, clean the area up so that wherever you go, you get to a point where you're not being triggered and set off, right? And so and you're feeling pretty comfortable and confident. And gosh, I was canning, I was planting my edible landscape. I have a beautiful edible landscape. I was with my children, I was playing with my kids, I was taking them on play dates, we were homeschooling. I'm just having this great time. And and so I really didn't find anything else that I needed to tap on or clean up. Um, but so anyway, that was really huge. And then, every time I needed to make relationship changes, I would have to pull up childhood trauma, generational trauma. And I would sit here and be like, why do I fit with this? Why am I allowing this dysfunction to happen in my life? And I'd be tapping and I'm reflecting and then my brain would show me why I belong with this. So over the years, it's been less about anxiety disorder and more about recovering from generational patterns of dysfunction. Um, and I'll tell you a little bit more story about that as we go along. Um, so um, one of the measures for anxiety, depression, traumatic stress are, you got to have some symptoms, and then those symptoms have to be great enough to shut your life down in three areas if you're an adult. If you're a child or a teenager, just one compromised area is enough. Like if you can't sleep because of anxiety, it's enough. Um, and so during these times, I just have not. I, okay, let me tell you this too. Um, Symptoms of anxiety are, and even depression, are natural communications of brains. They're natural processes. So when we talk about overcoming, and when I talk about overcoming, I'm not talking about you're never going to see these things again. There, it's like, can you overcome hunger? No, it's like the body's way of saying, hey, it's time to eat. You forgot to feed me. Let's do this. Symptoms of anxiety, depression, traumatic stress are similar. They're the brain saying, hey, there's something in here I can't resolve. I'm going to need some help, right? And that's really what they're for. Unfortunately, a lot of times when we're getting those symptoms, we don't know that there's help. We don't know how to help ourselves. A lot of the professionals that are around us don't know how to help us, and so we don't get the help, and then we keep moving, right? And that's when we start to kind of slide symptoms under the rug. We're not intentionally doing that, but life sometimes requires it, and then they build up and tangle up and they shut your life down in different areas, and then bam, you have a disorder. And so am I now in a place where I never have symptoms of anxiety, depression, or traumatic stress? No, and I don't expect to be there. And maybe I should, maybe one day, maybe my own belief that this is an expression of the body is limiting me to getting rid of them entirely. However, uh, gosh, any symptoms I get are so, I just help them out. Um, my mom passed away last year. Um, After she passed away, I kept having panic attacks. I didn't have full out panic attacks because I was like, I didn't, they were, I can tolerate some panic attacks. I'm nosy and I'm curious. I'm like, what are you doing, nervous system? But these ones were like, felt like they were going to swallow me. So anytime they came up, I just started using intervention, and then I was able to pull that stuff through. So, do I expect to not have emotional distress and symptoms of anxiety, depression, or traumatic stress after the loss of my mom? No, I don't. Do I expect my brain, especially because there's after something like that, your brain has to really reprocess everything. It's like, how do we do life now? What's happening here? Um, in my case, my mom dropped off loads of information I was unaware of that I had to then integrate. Did I expect my brain to do that seamlessly and not say, hey, I need some help? I didn't. I expect my brain to have these conversations with me. I also expect myself to be equipped to help my brain. So, do I have areas of my life where my brain function shuts me down? I do not see them. Oh, wait, hold on. After my mom passed away, I had a terrible time completing applications. Whew, I couldn't. Like, talk about massive procrastination. Like, any of the posts I wrote about procrastination was like, I myself was the example. I was the example of like, okay, this problem. And that was really great for me because it's like, follow your own advice, Rachel. Okay, get your map out. Let's go map this and resolve this. And so I was able to work through all those things, and really, because I would want to throw up every time I had to do a new application, a new, not app, like, gosh, I had to file for this and I had to file for that and I had to do this and inform these people, and everything was just, my nervous system was just, and then helping my five kids grieve the loss of their mom, who they saw pass away in our home and who they supported in her last days. Like, I just was, did I expect my nervous system to just be like, we're good, let's go? No, I had to make some time to stop and like help my nervous system out through the process, And so, um, I don't know that we cure anxiety. That would be curing brain function. So, but what I do know is that after I process each one, I get growth. So I'm on the growth and wellness and maturity process. And I don't like that's a fun project. Like if you've ever seen my video for 4 stages of competence. There's a video about that. It talks about there's 4 stages of competence, and I'm not going to go into that now because all the things. But the 4 stages of competence, there's always where we have unconscious incompetence, like areas where we're incompetent, we just don't know. Then we have areas of conscious competence where we're it, okay. We have then after that we have areas of conscious incompetence where we can see that we're incompetent. It's a very hard place to be. Watch the video; it's a good one. Then we'll move, and then if we continue with brain function, we'll and continue. Our brain continues the brain function healing, problem solving process. What happens is we'll go from conscious incompetence to conscious competence, where if we're consciously trying, we can do the right thing. We can be competent. And then if we do that long enough, our brain will be able to wire in and build the subconscious programming for unconscious competence, where we can do it with our eyes closed, we can do it unconsciously, and we're competent. That's the motherland, okay? That's when this little mini project of your growth, maybe it was learning math, or maybe it was being able to say no for the first time, whatever it was, we're when we want to get to the unconscious competence, and so that's like the completion of that process. um, but guess what? Things are always going to be popping out of the unconscious incompetence zone. We're never going to be fully competent in any area. And once that happens, you have to be able to move this through to the unconscious competence, or at least the conscious competence, or you have to be able to tolerate watching yourself be incompetent. I personally suck at sucking. It's something I'm getting better at. I'm working on those programs to really be good at being bad. So, and those are some of the wellness pieces that can be really supportive and wonderful to us. And we don't know that we need them until we know that we need them, because I didn't know that I was unconscious of my incompetence at being bad. And then next thing I know, boom, I'm conscious that I'm not good at this whole being bad thing. So I need to build some skills around it. And that's really what happens. And so and that part where you find out that you're not competent about something, that's a hard place. And you will run your subconscious programs for not being good here. And this is a lot about what we're doing with anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress recovery, that I think we don't think about very much. But can you love yourself and support yourself and stand by yourself even when you suck at something, even when you're bad at this? Or when you find out you're bad at this, do you tear yourself up? Do you do some emotional self harm? Do you do some physical self harm? Are you running some mental processes that are eroding you and corroding you and causing more harm? Are you going in a downward spiral when you mess up, when you say the wrong thing, when you are incompetent? That area needs to be overhauled. That's a part of healing from anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And guess what? You only have to get good enough for right now. And then down the road, what happens is your brain will say, "Oh, we need a better program. This was good for then, but we know more now. So let's do it again. Let's overhaul it." And then guess what? You get to see all the ways this thing is not competent, and you're back at conscious incompetence. And can you love yourself? Can you support yourself? Do you need to self abandon right here? I'm sorry, I can't be with you. Like I can't take you anywhere. I'm sorry. We're ugh. I disgust myself when I'm over here, right? These are real things. This area right here is really a really great measure of emotional and mental wellness. Do I pass that test if it's a test with flying colors all the time? No, that's part of being incompetent. And so, but we be aware of it? Can we help ourselves? Um, can we support ourselves in areas where we're incompetent? Like, what's up with that? And so, have I cured myself? No. I can't. I think that's part of the human experience. But um, am I actively? I'm okay. This is another piece that I think is really cool about this work. I didn't know this going in, um, and I'm going to say really cool from a practitioner's perspective, not necessarily so cool as a human perspective. But I didn't know this going in, and there's lots of things about my process, my inner world transformation process and program that really. It's fascinating to me. I learn about it myself all the time, because I built it to help people overcome anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, and to be able to help themselves. And also, I slide it in there like it's also a training program to help people work with their brain very powerfully, skillfully, and effectively for the rest of their life. So that they're never dependent on a therapist. Again, they can work with a therapist, they can partner with one, but they really are equipped to help themselves for the rest of their life. And so that's what I built it for. But what I've noticed is that the same process that helps the inner world transformation is the same process that you can guide the brain. You can use that same process to guide the brain through improving interactions with other humans, including setting boundaries, conflict resolution, um, just creating um, the interactions and the feelings between within relationships that one wants, whether it's the relationship with your body, the relationship with food, the relationship with your spouse, your relationship with your children, your parents, your employer, money. It works the same exact way. And it's like once you do the inner work, then you can come out and do this relational work. And what I'm also finding that I think is phenomenal, is that this process has been instrumental for me to unpack and overcome generational trauma and generational patterns of dysfunction. And these, for me, this is my newest frontier of my life. I have a couple of patterns in here that I've like, you're in a generational stop when you've tried every logical thing to resolve issues in a family system and nothing budges. So then I'm like, okay, hold this is not right. And where is this? Why is this here? And the roots I found are in the generational line. Like I was learned this stuff. I just picked these things up. It never occurred to me. My family is recovering from, which is really cool. I'm happy to be able to say this. Um, we're recovering from um, teamwork problems. I don't. I just. I grew up. This is the reflection. Is I grew up in a family where there were many abusers, and I didn't. I wasn't aware of this. That was kept away from me. um, but as I look back, I can see like we never worked together on the house at the same time. Nobody like if I were to come out and start cleaning, my one of my family members would leave. And they say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so tired." And then I'd work till I was tired, and then I'd go take a break, and then the other one would come. And I remember watching the same thing when I was younger. And I remember watching, and then my family members earlier, um, they couldn't work together to accomplish a goal of like keeping the house clean, right? Small goal. Um, and so, but it really occurred to me that there was we kept this nice front on the outside, but on the inside, these were dangerous humans that my people were subjected to. And when you're in that much emotionally, mentally, physically dangerous, um, you become that way too, right? And so there's a whole defensive thing in there. So I'm like racking my brain, why can't we work this teamwork thing out? Oh, well, actually, this is in me. This is my subconscious programming. Um, I don't expect any teamwork. I've never seen teamwork. I've never, I think we've got teamwork because I've been on volleyball teams and this and that and this and that, but I've never been in a team where the members of the family all work together well. And so as I have children, like I'm teaching them the family subconscious program, not even knowing that it's built for uh, perpetrators, right? It's not. This isn't for health. This programming right here is not for healthy things. And so you run that stuff, you're not going to get healthy things. And regardless of how healthy you are as humans, you're going to get suspicion. I don't know what you're going to get exactly. You're going to suspicion from my, you're going to get one person's going to do all the work and the other going to feel, I don't, I'm shifting from two parts of my brain here. That's not working out very well. Let's see. Um, and so right now I've been really thrilled to find that the same process for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress is the same process for clearing patterns and the subconscious programming of trauma and abuse from the nervous system and from family systems. This is a huge discovery for me. I mean, because I know now that all I have to do, I'm going to say it very simply. I'm going to say it very simply, but all I have to do is clear the program out of myself and it unravels from the whole system. That is huge. Also, I have to grow up into things. I have to mature in ways that my subconscious programming didn't allow for. So that's where I'm at now. I'm hanging out in, in that space, um, and what I'm helping people to recover from, because it's like as things are pulling out of my eyes, I'm seeing these things in other people. And actually, in doing this work, is seeing people and helping people take this out of their world has really empowered me to also take it out of mine. And so this is really a wonderful, honorable place to be, where I get to um, work beside someone in their inner world and help them heal. Um, and but there's a synergy involved, right? I walk away blessed as well. I walk away with a gift. Always, I'm always learning from my clients. My clients are always learning from me. They're always learning from their brain. More importantly, I'm learning from their brain, and we're sharing, right? Um, so that's kind of where I'm at. This for me is I don't think these are the last frontiers for me, but it feels like the last frontiers. Like I feel like everything is coming together with this stuff right here. Um, but to be honest, the more I do this work, the more I feel a um, spiritual awakening. I don't know if that's the way I can say this. I don't know. I don't even know what that word means. So I feel like a sense of there's more to this. Um, Maybe it's a psychological awakening or psychic awakening, or I don't know what the word is, but expanded spirituality. And I wonder if that's just because as you use these pathways and grow, your wellness increases, but your life um, comes up to more unconscious competence, which is where I'm trying to take my life to, is unconscious competence and the life of my clients. Um, right. We know that there's going to be stuff popping out of this unconscious incompetence zone. Um, but I think that, when we're talking about building skills, you kind of have to master the first ones first. And then all of a sudden you start seeing more things. It happens in basketball all the time, volleyball, like where your intuition turns on, where you've shot this shot so many times from so many different places that you could intuitively do it, and you're noticing different things about the game. You're noticing different aspects that new beginners can't grasp, right? And so I'm definitely grasping more now about life and the feel of life and the intuition of life than I grasped when I was a beginner at this, right? I couldn't, when I was beginning this work, and I didn't know I was beginning this work, it was very unconscious, a drive I had, like a compulsion. I could not I was not aware of social cues. I could not read emotions on other people's faces. Now that's most of my profession, very observant. But I had to wire that in. That was not something that was wired into me. I had to use these pathways and get that stuff going and turn on these functions. And so that's the answer to my question. And I don't see any new questions. So have I had anxiety before? Yes. Show stopping, awful, life stopping anxiety. Have I cured myself? No. Uh, so, however, have I cleaned up my life with it? Yes. Is it shutting down areas of my life? Um, I would say generational trauma has got me pinned to the wall in one area. I'm just laying low, doing my brain work, and I'm watching layers and layers and layers come off. So I'm feeling in a good place with this, and so and it's just there's two life areas right now, maybe three, that I don't know that I feel that I'm being pinned to the wall. One, I'm in a good boxing match with. Um, but yeah, so I've got some growing edges going on. And just like I talk about all the time, these symptoms are they're the access points for change. So once you have a symptom coming up, if you can get to the root of it, you're healing stuff at a very deep level, and then your brain can create the new wellness, the new higher ways of being, the new competence in that it wasn't able to build before. So um, I welcome these. I like it when like we humans, we use stress to grow, right? So this is kind of the stress bar. If the stress is in here, we're doing well. Like this is like our the level of stress we can tolerate, we're using it for our good, we're doing great with that, right? This is a really healthy space, and it's a really great growth opportunity. Once stress gets up here above this level, now we're overstressed. This is traumatizing us. This is breaking down our ability to function, navigate, and grow. And a lot of times, if we're below the stress line, we don't have enough stimulation to grow. We can almost self-destruct down there. Some of us do self-destruct down there, and we will create stress for ourselves so that we can come up to the middle. Not a fun fact, but it just is what it is. And so I like it when life, when my life has this much stress in it. But that's not always how it works, right? When my mom got sick and passed away, right? Stress levels were constantly up. Those were opportunities to work with my nervous system, bring them down, and that wasn't always cute or pretty, right? Um, and whether regardless of the fact that I've developed this amazing, wonderful, phenomenal program for uh, resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, I don't get to skip the whole having a human brain, having a life, having desires I want to see fulfilled, and actually having to be in the process of feeling them and not throwing a whole fit, but doing it well with grace, um, and um, and growing, right? So that's my answer. That's the answer to the question. And so wonderful connecting with you all. If you want to check out that program, um, it's called Inner World Transformation. You can find that on my website. It is it's really a beautiful, wonderful program, and really empowers you to not just have interventions. Interventions are easy to learn. They're easy to use. They help the brain every time once you find the right match. Um, 95% of the time, right? That's a really great percentage. Um, and and so, but it's really about, can you use the tools in a skillful way that helps you accomplish the end goal, right? If I wanted to go build a table right now, and somebody gave me the tools, I assure you, you would not get a table at the end, okay? But if I had the right things I need, the tools, and then the strategy and the coaching, I would totally need a human body there with me. Then I would get the table built and be like, I did it. I was able to do the process and end up with a table. That's really what I'm hoping to provide with my program, Inner World Transformation. There are some of you that are like, can follow the instructions, and there's a self-study option on there. You can enroll in that program and get started today, right now. And for those of you who are like me, that would need someone like to walk you through it and make sure you stayed on task and those sorts of things, I have an intensive coaching program for you that you can look at on my website as well. So wonderful connecting tonight, and I hope you all have a great day, night, morning, wherever you're at. Take care.